Dear colleagues, it's my absolute pleasure to launch the 2022 edition of the OECD Scoreboard on financing SMEs and entrepreneurs and to open today's high-level panel discussion. Since its creation 10 years ago, this flagship annual report has become the international reference point for understanding trends and policies on access to finance for small and medium-sized enterprises across 48 countries around the world. We are continuing our efforts to strengthen and expand this important work. SMEs were hit particularly hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. The livelihoods of many depended on their survival. 3/4 of the jobs in the sectors most affected by the pandemic were in SMEs. Governments stepped in with vital and unprecedented measures to keep credit flowing to SMEs. In most OECD countries, between 20 and 40% of SMEs received some form of government support in 2020. Our scoreboard shows that government-provided loan guarantees more than doubled in 2020, and direct lending to SMEs was up by 17% on the previous year. The total stock of loans to SMEs grew by 4.9% in 2020, the largest increase in the scoreboard's history. Emergency support measures, including monetary policy interventions by central banks, also pushed effective interest rates down to record lows. The median SME interest rate of scoreboard countries fell by 0.4 percentage points in 2020, the largest reduction since 2009. This support helped avoid a wave of bankruptcies and was a remarkable achievement. However, it has also left many SMEs with higher levels of debt that will need to be tackled going forward. Additionally, the war in Ukraine and the resulting humanitarian and economic crisis adds uncertainty to the global economic outlook as it emerges from COVID-19. It is affecting financial and energy markets, trade and supply chains, and driving inflation up, especially in energy prices and downstream sectors, all of which have important implications for SME operations and performance. The OECD estimates global economic growth could be at least more than 1 percentage point lower this year than was projected before the conflict. Inflation, which was already elevated at the beginning of this year, could be higher than it would have been if war had not broken out by at least a further 2.5% on aggregate across countries. These developments reinforce the importance of support and access to financing for SMEs and entrepreneurs. Equity and quasi-equity instruments need to be mobilized for SMEs, particularly those whose business models generate and rely on innovative intellectual property. Asset-based finance, such as leasing and factoring, which experienced a significant decline in activity during the pandemic, can also help businesses diversify their financing and improve resilience. The 2022 update of the G20 OECD high-level principles on SME financing will also provide guidance to governments on achieving these objectives. SMEs will be key to deliver the jobs growth needed to boost the recovery, and their engagement is also essential to help address the major challenges of our time, including the transition to net zero emissions by 2050. Our report, No Net Zero Without SMEs, shows that SMEs contribute between 50 and 70% of greenhouse gas emissions by the business sector, which is why we have created the new OECD platform on financing SMEs for sustainability, to work hand in hand with public and private financial institutions to ensure SMEs have access to finance to make climate investments. But SMEs have received relatively less attention in national recovery packages than during the crisis. Our scoreboard shows that only around 2% of total funding in recovery packages targets SMEs, compared to more than 25% in crisis rescue packages. And SME policies represent only 2.44% of the financial support for climate and sustainability contained in these packages. In these volatile times, We must continue to place SMEs at the center of our efforts to build stronger, fairer and cleaner economies. You can count on the OECD's continued support. I look forward to hearing your views on how we can deliver better policies for better SMEs and entrepreneurs. Thank you.